today I greet you with the greeting of the angels in paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Holy Quran, chapter 39, verse 53. O my servants who have transgressed against themselves by sinning, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. It is He who is the forgiving, the merciful. Now, before we get started, like the brother alluded to, I'm not an imam, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a sheikh, a preacher, or a teacher. I simply describe myself as a Muslim amongst many. And I'll take it one step further. This time last year, I was described simply as inmate number 162737F. And inshallah, today I'll talk further upon that, upon my experiences, what I've been through, and how together as a community we could help each other and help the youth who are going through some problems change, inshallah, for the better. So about myself, like the brother mentioned, my name is Ahmad Habhab. I've lived my whole life basically in Scarborough. I was born in Beirut, Lebanon actually, but I was raised predominantly here my whole life. And I had a pretty modest upbringing. I had a good family, good support. And me, myself, I was born Muslim, but I guess my deen was never really strong. And this definitely was a factor that helped me or led me into a life of crime. So I guess it started more or less when I was in high school. You know, it's a problem that a lot of youth go through. They see people, they get attracted and allured by materialistic things. You know, it's part of growing up. You're 15, 16, you start seeing things you like, things that you don't have but you wish you had. And you start thinking, wow, I really would like having this stuff. And you start doing stuff that might get you into a lot of trouble, stuff to make money. And as we know, you know, money is the root of all evil, as they say, which is very true. And myself personally, what I did is I started hanging around with people who are very, very poor influences on me. And it's true what they say, the company you keep, and when you're around good company, it makes you do good things. When you're around poor company, you're going to start getting into problems and acting with the way that the friends that you call friends at the time are acting. So me, I was just allured by like the materialistic things, and you know, I was young. Again, my deen wasn't very strong. I started looking, 15, 16 years old, you start looking at women. And I tell you now, the women that I was looking at back then, I wouldn't be surprised if I see them on the Maury show today. So it definitely wasn't a good thing to get into. And what I was doing is I had people that would come see me from the States, and they'd come to me and they'd pick up large amounts of narcotics and transfer it over to the States. At the time, I didn't think much about it because I was making a lot of money. I was making $5,000 a day at one point. So imagine that, $5,000 a day. It's a lot of money. And it was a lot of money. But all that lasted about a year or so. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was sleeping at my sister's house, and my sister wakes me up at around 4 in the morning. And she says, Ahmad, the police just raided Mom's house. And she just throws me a phone. I put the phone to my ear. It's about 4 in the morning. I'm still groggy. I'm barely awake. I say, hello, hello. And on the other line was a police officer. And the officer goes to me, he's like, yeah, Mr. Habhab, we have a warrant for you. We need you to come down to your parents' house and sign this warrant. I thought it was a bad dream at first. I wish it was a bad dream. But I remember stepping outside my sister's house. I took maybe 5, 10 steps, and I was ambushed by no less than 15 police officers, all with machine guns. They just grabbed me, they arrested me, they put me in a minivan, and they drove me 4 hours to Windsor. I was never read any charges or anything like that. So they transported me to Windsor, and I didn't know the severity of my crimes until I got to Windsor, and I was read a total of 28 charges. Conspiracy to traffic, conspiracy to export, trafficking a controlled substance, and so on and so on. And I still remember the first time where I was in that prison cell. That's when you're all alone, and you have time really to reflect. You know, nobody really knows what it's like to be completely alone, isolated from the entire world by yourself. And it was only at that moment when I was by myself that I started reflecting. And I started looking to Allah. And I actually remembered a surah from the Quran, Surah Al-Asr. The first 2 verses of that surah is Wal Asr. Illa insani lafi khusr. I started thinking, what does this surah mean? What do they mean by time? Surely mankind is in a loss. By time, surely mankind is in a loss. And I started reflecting on it more and more. And I thought that by time, which means every breath we take right now is a breath closer to death. So I'm thinking to myself, by time, surely mankind is we're losing every second we take right now in this earth. We only have so much time to make good of the time we're here. And I'm thinking, wow, I really, really hate the situation I'm in right now. It's horrible. It's disgusting. But what would eternity in hellfire be like if I can't stand the one day I've only been in prison? So at that very moment, I decided it's time for me to make a change. It's time for me to make a change. And 2 weeks into that bid, thank you, brother. 2 weeks into that prison bid, I ended up getting bail. They set my bail at $110,000. So I get bail, I'm back outside, and I start going to school. I decided, you know what? The key thing and the most important thing that anybody can do is education, especially for the youth. I stress that it's very, very important that you continue your education. Let me even tell you why. Because even though I was making so much money doing crime, I was making a lot of money, all that money is completely gone. It makes no sense even financially for you to commit a crime. All that money that I had is completely wiped out with lawyer fees and this and that. And when you're in school and you commit yourself to education and knowledge, you end up getting a good job and a constant, steady income. All the time that I was in prison, I could have been working a regular job and making money. Instead, I was sitting in a cell losing money. So it doesn't even make sense from a financial standpoint. So I get out and alhamdulillah, I went to Humber College. I took a media broadcasting course. I graduated that course. And I was working full-time for that 3 years that I was on bail. But of course, 3 years later, I had to go back and answer for the crimes that I originally committed. So I went back to Windsor. I went to court. The judge was very happy and thrilled with the accomplishments that I made. And he goes to me, he says, Mr. Habhab, you seem to have changed your life around. You seem to be doing very well for yourself. But you still have to answer for the crimes you committed 3 years prior. So I'm sentencing you to 4 years in prison. So that same day I'm whisked away back to prison after 3 years on bail. So it's you yourself thinking about it, you're home and you think in your mind, one day I'm going to have to go back to prison. Just like here we are right now sitting here and we're all together. But one day we're going to have to stand in front of our Creator.